that we're going to witness on the colorful Dubashes of Madras. We're very glad that Venkatesh Ramakrishnan will take us through their lives and their relevance in history. A big thanks to Ashwita for being the gracious host yet again. A mandatory brief about INTACH, which is an acronym for the International Trust for Art and Cultural Heritage. It was set up in 1984, 38 years ago, as a not-for-profit organization. INTACH's mission to conserve heritage is based on the belief that living in harmony with heritage enhances the quality of life, and preserving heritage is a duty of every citizen of India as laid down in the Constitution of India. INTACH endeavours to achieve this vision by sensitizing the public about the pluralistic cultural legacy of India, protecting and preserving India's living, built and natural heritage, by documenting unprotected brilliance of archaeological, architectural, historic and aesthetic significance, as well as of the cultural resources of our country. By developing heritage policies and regulations, by providing expertise in the field of conservation, restoration and preservation, by encouraging capacity building, by developing skills through training programs, and undertaking emergency response measures during natural or man-made disasters, supporting the local administration when heritage is threatened. We just have two of our members who are going for a capacity building workshop in the coming few weeks to Delhi. And recently, after the earthquakes in Nepal, we've been helping restore many of their structures. It is through the passion and strength of volunteers across 200 chapters nationwide, as well as the expertise of our various divisions, that INTACH takes its vision forward. Do join hands with us at INTACH to save and protect our heritage. We are here to answer your queries, and the information desk to my left will also be able to help you with any information that you need. Today's topic, which Venkatesh will speak about, is the Dubash. An Indian interpreter or translator, the etymology of the word derived from do Bhasha, or simply put, two languages. With the knowledge of at least two languages, of which English was one, these interpreters functioned as intermediaries and a vital link between the Englishman, Dore as he was known, and the local people of the native land for transactions, negotiations, and simply for communications. From being simple interpreters, they rose in stature to aristocratic nobility, and they are key figures in history for the roles they played. They became critical in East India Company setting up base in India. Good or bad is a matter to be debated. There's a lot of comparison between the Dubashes here and the interpreters in Calcutta as well. I would like to recognize the presence of Papal Suleja, who is from Germany and found the time to be with us in his 2 days sojourn to the city. And thanks so much to JS for bringing him here. To introduce the speaker, R. Venkatesh has a deep interest in history. A bilingual author, Venkatesh writes in both Tamil and English. Of the 3 historical novels he has written in Tamil, Kaveri Minded, the son of Kaveri, is a sequel to Kalki's Ponniyin Selvan, which is all over the news now. Gods, Kings and Slaves, The Siege of Madurai, published by Hachette, is Venkatesh's first novel in English. He believes much in the power of social media, and his Madras local history group on Facebook has 36,000 active members, maybe more. Yeah. For nearly 5 years, Venkatesh runs a weekly column in DT Next paper on interesting tales from Madras. A popular speaker on Madras history, Venkatesh has spoken on the heritage of the poor for TEDx. He was awarded the Vedavati Heritage Award by the TAG Foundation. Welcome, Venkatesh. Look forward to hearing.
Good evening, everybody. Dubash is a very fascinating subject in colonial history. The British would have conquered the whole of India and would have built an empire even but for the Dubashes. But we should recognize their role in that the omnipotent British Empire. How did the company become an empire? Who helped them? So the Dubashes would have definitely been a ladder for them to catch up to that position. So Dubash, as Sujata said, is Dubash, somebody who knows 2 languages. So it's a language, and at the outset I would like to mention Kanakalata Mukund and Susan Mead Basu, who have done extremely great work on the Dubashes. I don't know where they got so much information, and it's very rare information available in both their PhDs or topics which are available in this. So our languages bridges or barriers. There are 5,000 to 7,000 languages in the world, almost 800 in India, but maybe much more earlier. So we have Indo-European languages, we have Dravidic languages, we have Austro-Asiatic and Sino-Tibetan languages. So languages are essentially bridges within a community. People communicate using a language. But the moment globalization starts, even at a small level, languages become barriers. So somebody who knows 2 languages gets a lot of power. So the role of an interpreter is to bridge the communication gap between 2 or more parties who know just 1 language. So as I said earlier, the word Dubash comes from Dubash, 2 languages, and they were earlier called Dubashis, and it became Dubash. As the commerce of the East India Company was entirely with the local people, it naturally grew to the proximity of the Dorais or the British, those who were capable of learning 2 languages. So we always talk about 2 sides of the brain, one which concentrates on mathematics and one which concentrates on languages. So some people are able to learn languages faster and more efficiently. So those people, regardless of their caste, because caste determined what work they would be doing at that point of history. So they were able to break the caste barriers and become very powerful people. But were the British only looking for translators? No. They were looking for intermediaries who were proficient in local politics, local situations, and local realities. The local reality is a very, very important one. They wanted to know what was happening on the ground when they were doing business. The first native an Englishman would see when he comes into Madras was a Dubash. Anybody coming in the ship would imagine that Madras was populated only by Dubashes. They had a typical dress, they had a full gown, they had to wear a turban. They used to come in boats and approach the ships because the ships could not approach Madras. There was a huge sandbank outside Madras, so no ship could come into the harbour. Most ships, including those carrying elephants, had to stop and unload. Whether it was electrical locomotives or whether it was a Monroe statue or it was elephants, the ships had to stop 2 miles out in the harbour and they had to be loaded on the boats. And in the case of elephants, they were pushed into the water. Whichever swam to the shore survived. So the Dubashis would approach the people on the ships and offer their services. The oldest profession in Madras is that of a Dubash. Out of the 4 people who came to choose the city, for the site for the city, we have Francis Day, we have Logan, and then we have Nagam Bhattan, who is a gunpowder maker. The 4th is Beri Timappa. Beri Timappa is a Dubash. Essentially, Beri Timappa must have been the person who negotiated with the Kundavali Nayak and perhaps the last remnants of the Vijayanagara Empire at Chandranagiri and got the city for Madras. His descendants still live in Kilpauk. And Beri Timappa also started the Black Town. When the British were starting the fort, Beri Timappa was building the Black Town and also the Great Town Pagoda temple in the middle, where the High Court House stands. So, Beri Timappa was the first headman of the Black Town. So the Dubashi was, to start with, was a go-between, to start with because of his linguistic skills. His usefulness extended far beyond interpretation in business. For the new arrivals, he was the advisor, the guide, and the money lender. He was more of an exchange, money exchange. People did not have the local currency when they married, so he would exchange money. So that he was. For a well-settled company executive, the East India Company executive, he was the secretary, the cash keeper, and often the head steward and the secret keeper. He knew all the secrets, and you need a very person who did was that little bag to be on Dubash. For the company, he was a diplomat, he was a troubleshooter, and he was a business intermediary. Despite being described as an interpreter, the Dubash bridged cultural divides between the East India Company and the natives. The company at most points wanted to avoid a confrontation with the natives, and the Dubash was always the bridge. Like when does the company have a confrontation with the native? When they want to knock off their main temple or remove it stone by stone, only the Dubash protects the company from the anger of the natives. We'll be talking about that later. So the British were not the first people to have a Dubash. The Dutch have already started. So we have records of a Pulikat Malayan Pachetti, who was a Dutch. We will see that the East India Company of the Dutch. He was there in Dubash. There is a theory called the survivorship theory. We talk only about survivors or people who succeed. If you are talking about a kid who has autism, immediately somebody would say Einstein was autistic, so no problem. But 1 out of a million autistic children become a Nobel Prize winner, something like that. So there must have been hundreds or even thousands of Dubashes, but a handful of them climbed the ladder, became something different, and became very, very successful in the geography of Madras. So we keep talking about them. But still, even today, very few people in Madras know of a Dubash except Pachemamudri. There have been many of the Dubashes who have been very, very active in the politics of the city as well as its economics. The list of achievements of the Dubashes, other than translating in political and commercial fields, was in charity, was in patronage, is remarkable. But their abuse of power and corruption and scandals make the history of Madras very, very colorful. So, who were the Dubashes? The kings and the zamindars of the Madras presidency were on their way out. If you look at Madras presidency, the royalty is very, very limited. Very few states, princely states, were within the principality and the presidency, and very few were adjacent to it. We had Mysore or Hyderabad or Travancore touching it, and we had only Pudukkottai inside. We of course had a lot of zamindars, but they were all on the way out. So when the kings and the zamindars were going out, only those who were closest to the omnipotent British were likely to become the new nobility. And then Dubashes got hold of that opportunity. Initially, it was a class created by the government for its own needs. They soon gained a distinct authority of their own. And many of them came from very, very humble backgrounds. When you look at the Varnashrama or the caste division in the south, there were some castes which were mercantile. But the Dubashes came from all castes which were able to learn. So we have Yadavas who were cowherds, we have Berichettis who were commercial and mercantile communities, we have Agabudayas like Pachemamudali who actually came from a branch of Mudaliar who were able to battle part of the Kshatriyas. They all became a part of the Dubash community. So people who were not from traditional castes associated with battle but trade, they became tycoons. So that was like turning topsy-turvy the caste system. They were breaking through the walls that the caste system was enforcing on them and became very, very successful. So the four dominant castes, you cannot talk Tamil Nadu politics or Tamil Nadu Madras history without talking about the castes. That's unfortunate or fortunate, whatever it is. So there were the four castes which are dominant. Dubashes were the Velladars of the Tondai Mandalam, the Brahmins of Telugu origin, the Kanakku Pillais, who are basically Pillaimar, and the Yadavas. The first Dubashes were, of course, the Velladars and the Brahmins. Only later do we get the Nayaks, the Chettis, the names mentioned. But a lot of these roads in Blacktown are named after Dubashes who are Chettis, Lingi Chetti, Tapu Chetti. We have a lot of them. Velladars and Mudaliars were very highly educated. They rivaled the temple and the learning background of the Brahmins. Most of them were Telugu to start with because this Madras was in the heart of Telugu land. And you have to deal with the weaver here, you have to know Telugu. The Tamil Dubashes come much later when the expansion of the East India Company starts. How does Dubash get appointed? So there was no proper system to interview Dubash or get it. So there's family links, people you knew, people from your village whom you brought and trained. So there was no fixed standards. The advice of the previous Dubash was very important in appointing a successor. So we see a lot of family clusters. We see a lot of families having a tight hold on the military industry or certain companies for almost a century. The Manali family was all powerful during the 1800s. One Ponneri-based Dubash family held the head Dubash post to the military secretariat. So the entire wars were run from the secretariat. So a very powerful post there. So somebody would decide on where wars were going to be held. So that was from a Ponneri family. Their training wasn't different from what you have as an intern or an apprentice today. English, accounting, and smooth talk. That's what they were taught. The Europeans came to India for textile trade. They didn't come to rule the state. They came here to buy textiles. It was a huge margin, 100-fold, in spite of piracy on the ways and rivalry with the Spanish and the Portuguese. A cloth bought here could sell 100 times its price in Europe. So calico in British usage in 1505, even before Madras started, heavily plain woven textile made from unbleached cotton. And then you had gingham, which is very popular by the Dubashes, marketed by the Dubashes, a medium weight, balanced, plain woven, which was striped. Then you had the palampurs rather, which were made in Mylapore, Triplicate. A lot of these places were textile houses. We are not talking about too many tycoons today, so that we will have time for the other activities of Dubash as well. But we need to mention Kasi Veeranna. Kasi Veeranna had a Christian name, he had an Islamic name. In Golconda, he had a Christian name in Pondicherry. He was very close with the French, the Portuguese. He never made enemies. When the French, that's a different history, but when the French were holding Santo and Golconda was laying a siege, Kasi Veeranna supplied them with food, ammunition, and information on the enemy's movements. He founded the first Indian joint stock company. So he was the Ashok Mehta of those times. The Kasi Veeranna and Co. with 27 merchants. At one point, he was the chief merchant of Madras. They had some special, let us say, facilities to be a chief merchant. They had to pay only half the customs duties. And he was Mary Timmanna's colleague and partner. Then he became the chief merchant of Madras. And in Golconda, he was called Hassan, and he was close to the French. And at one point, 75% of all the cloth bought by the company went through his hands. He had a total monopoly on the entire Coromandel coast. And questions were raised to the East India Company from London saying, don't we get any equivalent trader? Because this monopoly, you're fixing the prices. So don't we get anybody else? The simple system, when you're taking a driver or a servant at home, a newborn, the first thing they ask for in Madras is an advance. So Kasi Veeranna started that advance system. You pay in advance and then you subtract that every month. So he had a huge set of weavers starting from Masulipatam up to Pondicherry. There is an East India Company report which says Kasi Veeranna can supply 4,000 ordinary ginghams and 1,000 fine ones a year. This is almost 50% of that particular cloth that East India Company was selling. He had his weavers under direct control. They would not deal with anybody else. And to keep Veeranna in good books, the East India Company gave a gold medal with stamped with the company arms. It was worth 100 pounds those days. It must have been a phenomenal somebody. Towards the end of his life, he starts this joint venture company. I think that must have been a joint stock company that must have been under the pressure from the East India Company to show more faces for the Madras trade. So 26 merchants and 27 merchants of Madras get to form the company. That must have been the first in India. When we go towards the end of the talk, we are going to look at all the systems that the Dubash has put in place, which we still use today, which laid the foundation for a lot of things that we take granted for today. At one point, trade reduces for the East India Company, and they are eyeing a bigger goal. They want to, let's call it revenue farming. They want to give protection to the local rulers and get a share of the revenue. They are not still looking at the British Empire, 3/4 of the world. So, when the business started coming down, many thought this was the eclipse of the Dubashes. There's no need for the Dubashes any longer because you don't have to buy cloth, they're going to do something else. But the Dubashes, both the number and the power goes multifold. They are needed all the more to deal with the local kings, to troubleshoot, to convey the message of the company to the Palayakaras and the kings. Dubashes were needed for negotiating with the kings and the peasants. And the government officers and courts also had Dubashes. So in that sense that judgments were often based on the testimony of the Dubashes. So he could interpret it any way that he wanted, the witnesses. So it made him all the more powerful. The expansion of the company as a colonial power actually strengthened the hands of the Dubashes much more than they had when they were traders. A classic example of Dubash who was not in trade is Pachepa. So around 1770, as a young orphan, might have been an illegitimate child, he moves to Madras and starts learning to become a Dubash. By the age of 21, he is a Dubash. By the age of 30, he is a millionaire in today's standards. And using a mentor who was a free merchant, he learns their overlord's language, while millions of his countrymen remained profoundly ignorant of English. So Pachepa learned English, French, and became a Dubash. He ventured to interpret the foreign words of the company. At one point, when he was in the peak, he was a Dubash to also the Maratha. As I said, Dubashes now are exposed to the local kings. So their services are needed by the local kings as well. So Pachepa Mudaliar becomes a Dubash of the Maratha king, Sarfoji. And at one point, when there's a backlog in taxes to the company, 1 lakh pagodas, which was 3.5 lakh rupees, but now it must be much, much more. So the king owes to the company. Pachepa Mudaliar lends that money and takes a 15% cut as a Dubash. And a 24% interest is related at first. So for 100 rupees, the Sarfoji was getting only 61 rupees. So he was making a 30% profit at the front end. But Pachepa Mudaliar also became a philanthropist like the kings of yore, and there are 4 gopurams, huge gopurams for the Silver Temple. The east one was built by a king called Koppirijilan, a very interesting king in the Tamil history. He doesn't come from the Chola Chera, but though he is descended from the Pallavas. At one point, he captures the Chola king and holds him prisoner for 2 years. Koppirijilan builds the east gopuram of Chidambaram. But with the lack of patronage from kings, kings themselves are penniless, so there's nobody to repair the gopurams. The gopurams all started falling into pieces, and it was Pachepa and his sister, whose statues are still there under the east gopuram, who rebuilt the east gopuram of Chidambaram. Ramanuja Kaviraya, who was the guru of G.U. Pope, wrote a Pancharatna Mala on Pachepa Mudaliar. So we got to talk a lot about poets who sing about these people rather than the kings later. The impact of Dubash benevolence is felt long after. So at one instance, I think in the 1960s, 67 to 70, the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh and the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu both studied in the Pachepa institution. So at that point, we learn of the institution that was not even started by him, but started by one of his, the money that is bestowed on the bill. And 2 Chief Ministers happened to study it and makes a lot of difference to their careers. So Mudaliar actually wills all his money to be, he's the first Indian to write a will, arguably the first Indian to write a will. All the money that he actually dies childless, though with 2 wives, and he wills all his money to go into charities for the temples. But since it is the first will, it is contested for almost 100 years. It is constantly in the courts before Norton, a leading British lawyer of Madras, sees so much of money lying there idle in the government bonds, and he talks to the government, talks to the courts, and makes sure that this money is spent both for temples as well as education. So the Supreme Court of Madras allows the money to be used for education. So Madras was known for its early educational institutions, but most of them were missionaries. And this is the first Indian-run college, and they don't admit non-Hindus till very, very late. And 1896, they have a Greek temple-like building in the Blacktown, based on the Theseus temple in Greece. And they are used to rent it out for talks. And a lawyer from South Africa comes to talk there, 1896, and even the Hindu writes that it's a boring talk of 1.5 hours and people were patient to listen to it. And when Gandhi comes the second time in 1916, still not a Mahatma, but the third time he becomes a Mahatma. So the first time the Mahatma comes to talk in Madras is a Pachayappa institution. He talks of that Pachayappa school, which is a school right out that the college originally started. So the company was interested in having a loyal, subversive class who would manage the local population on their behalf. They didn't want to troubleshoot with everybody. They also wanted to raise the status of that class so that the local people would respect them. So they made them the Dharmakartas of all the temples in Madras as well as the native villages. They were looking at a one-point contact with the local population. The governor's Dubash was always the headman of the Black Town. The Black Town is let us say, a demographer's delight. It starts with 400 people, within 10 years it becomes 40,000 people, and it grows in not even leaps and bounds. There are no words in demography to describe how fast the Black Town grew. And initially people were migrating, people were jumping over the caste wall and living in the Black Town. But soon they formed groups as the left-hand caste and the right-hand caste, and they used to have a lot of disputes and people used to get killed in the riots. And the headman, who was the Dubash of the governor, whichever caste he belonged, that was always the dominant caste in the Black Town for that period of his employment. At a later stage, they become diplomats. So, later while Narayana Pillai, Yadava Dubash, started negotiating with the Palayakaras of the south. So he must have talked to Kataboman also, he must have talked to Etepuram, he must have talked to most of these people, we don't have records of that. Pachayappa also used to negotiate with the kings, Maratha kings, Pudukkotai king, as well as the Palayakaras. There was a lot of mediation, as I said. The Balija, the right-hand caste, and the Berichetti, the left-hand caste, though other castes also came in. They were always fighting, even if the procession, a funeral procession or a temple procession of the opposite caste went in this road, it would end up in a riot. So one Dubash tries to patch these guys up, but the East India Company is worried that these guys are talking out of line or out of this hierarchy. They are worried that he might climb the ladder by solving this problem. And luckily for them, the problem doesn't get solved. So the French captured Madras and hold it for 3 years. And when the British get it back, British don't get it by warfare. A treaty in distant Austria gives back Madras here, and Nova Scotia and Canada goes to the French. So in exchange. And the British do their homework. They want to study why they lost the fort. They realize that the Black Town has hugged them. And the enemy could come off the walls without being noticed. So the first thing they want to do is knock off the Black Town. They are able to do the rest of knock off the rest of the Black Town, but they are very hesitant to touch the main pagoda, the company that the town pagoda or the Shiva temple in the middle of that. They are afraid of confronting the local people. So at that point, they get Muthukrishna Mudali from Anali. He talks to the local people. He gets a grant of 24,000 square feet near the main road, and he gets a fund also from the East India Company. He collects a lot of money from the local people. So instead of one temple, it has 2 temples. So for a long time, those temples were attributed to him. He has a statue on an entrance. You have a pillar there, and it was called a company pagoda for a long time. With absolutely no aberration with the local people, no friction, he was able to solve that. The Chennakeswara Perumal and the Chenna Mallikeshwara temple are done instead of the original temple. And the expansion of the city. At every stage the city expanded. You could see the hand of a Dubash. So Audible Nayakan is the person who does the Chidadripet. Chidadripet is a weaver's village. Chinnatharipet, where you have small loops. That is a peninsula where the comb goes around it. So that is where weavers from all over Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh, of course, were brought in and settled. And Audible Nayakan is the person who allots houses. One fascinating fact about demography in Chidadripet is a Chettiar could not stay next to a Chettiar. They have to stay next to somebody else, some other caste. Only the Brahmins and the Agrahara were allowed to stay close to the caste because the East India Company did not want them ganging. So that was a demographic experiment in caste in Madras. Similarly with Kolanpeta, which is called Saradipeta, which is also extant town. Dubash Lingi Chetty manages the mint. The East India Company gives him the right to make the Nawab's coins. So you will have to look at these so many factors. Dubash is making the coins on behalf of the East India Company. What is he minting? He is minting the coins of the Nawab. So there is a lot of interaction between these groups. At least one of these Dubashes was a diarist. Anandarangam of Pondicherry was very close to Dublin. He meticulously wrote diaries for 25 years. We even have the dates: September 6, 1736 to January 12, 1761. He wrote a diary every day. It is so detailed that he used to say, do play and he used to talk about a Belgian merchant who comes from Europe, who brings the first spectacles into India. So Duplay chooses a dozen and says, Pillai, you take a spectacle. So Anandarangam Pillai becomes the first Indian to wear a spectacle. So there you don't have a optimist to check your eyes, so you have to try out a few classes and choose the best one. Anandarangam Pillai was very popular. We'll be coming back to him later. At one point, the name Dubash becomes a very bad word. People don't want to be called Dubash. And because of the name was tarnished because of a lot of activities and a lot of apprehension on part of the company as well. It didn't take a long time for the Dubashes to tarnish their reputation. There were many criticisms of the common people that were making money by misrepresenting the honest reputation. One common joke about the Dubashes used to be, I have to go to Tamil for this. He said, and he said, in English or Tamil, he would say, what do we belong to? But this was a pretense. The money they were making in non-commercial activities or misrepresenting things was much huger than what they were making on this. So the hand of the Dubash was found wherever there was financial corruption or political litigation. The English always felt that the Dubashes were cheating them. From day one, they knew that the Dubashes were cheating them, short-changing them. And they were an undesirable influence on the local populations. The Court of Directors in London sent a letter warning Fort St. George. His actual words are, you should keep a watchful eye and carry a strict hand over those black fellows, the Dubash and the Kanakapulis. Kanakapulis, of course, is pronounced as Konikopulis. Funnily, those that were accepted as very acceptable business practices in the start of their career became intolerable later. So, taking a commission or taking a bribe was a horrible thing to start with when the company was starting. But later it became very negative conditions. So Dubashes were caught in the trap. Most often in traps that their bosses set. The bosses would always run away. They would never be charged in court, while the Dubashes would have to repay that entire amount. It has happened many times. So they were a class of the people created by the company, but like Frankenstein soon assumed an authority of their own. That is undeniable. They had an authority of their own. A lot of complaints about the Dubash's bribery, and the British were very uneasy about handing over a large part of their life. Dubash handled almost 70% of a British man's life in Madras. Right from employing servants or handling his money or investments or loans, everything was being handled by Dubash. There was a lot of public mockery about the Dubashes in British newspapers. You used to have cartoons, you used to have articles, you would have a lot of criticisms. At one point, there's a Governor McCartney who everybody accuses of being under the hand, under the thumb of a Dubash. And he uses the word first and says, I am not Dubashed. So that means he is not under the control of a Dubash. So whenever a company official turned rogue, when there were caste riots, when corruption inquiries were dropped halfway, when decisions of the court seemed very suspiciously biased towards one party, a Dubash was always defended. So the term Dubash obviously took a very negative connotation. The House of Commons institutes a committee to study the evil, the Dubash influence and the domination. The company's dependence on a group of powerful Indians was seen as a liability. And there was a lot of clamor over Dubash influence and corruption. The British Parliament would say that the first post to be removed when the company consolidated itself should be that of Dubash. This happens in 1750. Obviously, when the targets of envy and suspicion, they were cash rich and had done a great networking with people, so they were all powerful. The company needed to dissociate itself from its corrupt officials a lot of time, and their underlings obviously also. So, what were the corruptions that they did other than financial? There was this guy called Vandalur Venkatragampu. He draws a genealogy map of the Sivagangai Samasthan, and by which the British have to give the authority to rule to somebody. He sets up the entire genealogy and makes another branch of which was not rightfully the king. He makes that branch of the family as the rightful heirs. So So the British actually believe it. They take a big, the collector of Ramnad takes a big bribe from that part of the family, civil family, and they get caught. Pillai was fined, he lost his estate, and also his Dharmakarta post. But you should look at his resilience. His connections were extensive. He files a case against the company. The company is effectively the rulers of Madras. He files a company against a case against the company in the Madras Supreme Court. There is no High Court there, the Supreme Court. And which upturns the ruling. And the company takes it to the King's Council. The Privy Council is earlier called the King's Council. And once again, get the original order back. So 18,000 pagodas bribe paid to the Englishman, the collector of Ramnad, had to be refunded by the Dubash. We don't know how they spent that 18,000, but he had to pay back the whole amount. When the company becomes a ruler, it was very easy to extort a lot of money from the rulers because they were being protected. So we have a guy called Om, after whom most possibly the Om's Road in Kilpatrick's name. He is, Dubash is called Sumkurama Chetty, and he demands a gift from the Nawab of Arcot and talks very insultingly within the hearing distance of his subordinates. So the Nawab is almost in tears when he complains to the Bigot, who is the governor of Madras, says, I will rather go out of Madras than be insulted like this. But one Dubash who brought down the entire system was Avadhanam Papaya, who has a road named after him in Murasabad. So he started as a clerk in the customs department. By the time he got caught, or his crimes caught up with him, or his bad deeds caught up with him, he was a ship owner, he was the Zamindar of the entire Chengalpet district. And he was on the top of Dubashis in Madras because his boss became governor of Madras. So most of these Dubashis were attached to Englishmen. And in case he became the governor or the deputy governor, the Dubash power became sky high. So when Papaya's boss becomes the governor of Madras, Papaya runs a reign of corruption and chaos. He was caught up in a scandal finally, and 27 hours of testimony, 3-day trial. Papaya was eventually sentenced to 3 years in prison. By the time his boss Holland had escaped to India, and there is no record of Holland being prosecuted back in England. When Papaya comes out, there is another case waiting for him that he has forged millions of rupees worth of the Nawab's bonds. But by the time the trial starts, he luckily dies. The Nawabs lived in a lot of pomp. They lived in a lot of luxury. And they traveled in palanquins like the kings and had huge retinues of servants. Their wealth, their political influence, their ostentatious lifestyles, and their lavish religious charities and support of arts distinguished them as the gentry of the new. They become the nobility, the neo-nobility. And weddings in the Nawab's and the Dubash's family were 4-day affairs, accompanied by elephants in procession, fireworks in the sky, and torches which made nights as good as the morning. Even the Europeans used to go up to the terrace and watch these tamashas. They are expensive and the origin of the receptions for the weddings. They are expensive and separate dinners for the Europeans. And very costly gifts were given for the overlords of the company. Birth of children was also celebrated like this, and funerals too were very, very lavish. So when the wife of the Dubash dies, the entire road up to the graveyard was sprinkled with turmeric, saffron, and frankincense. And the funeral pyre was only of sandalwood logs, which only kings could afford earlier. For the 10th day, it is recorded they had a Nautch dance. They had a girl come and dance to entertain the people who had come to mourn. So, when a typical Dubash, who was the Dharmakarta of the temple in his village, sets out for the annual festival, Vedachala Mudali, Totikala, he goes for his annual temple festival, it looks like a royal procession. The entire black town comes to see it. It was a show intended for him. It was a show intended to make himself a bigger person. Drum beat first, and an elephant with a standard. Just imagine a Dubash who's a translator having a standard like a king's, like his flag. Then you have Vedachala coming on another elephant, and armed soldiers. All of them must have been hired for that day. But the show that every year was for the benefit of the people. Then camels with the tents and the camping stuff coming behind. So the Dubashis have become very rich, and they find that the black town is very, very congested, and they want to go out. They want to start their own equivalent of the forest garden of the port club. They go to Pudupet. The Sarvadesa Vilasa talks about Pudupet as Navasthala, the new place. So on the banks of the Kuam, which is yet to be dirty, which has a lot of trees, they set up a lot of garden houses, and the richest of Madras moved to Pudupet. Oh, they built a temple there, the Komaleshwaram temple, and they invented a legend for it of the Kamadhenu coming and shedding milk on a Shivalinga. So they talk about a 1,000-year-old legend there. The locals call it Pudupet because obviously it's a new town. Today we call it the Chor Bazaar. You can assemble an entire car or an entire bike with the stolen parts available in Pudupet. But the Komaleshwaram temple is still available. And the Coombe at that point takes a north turn. Rivers which move towards the north are very, very auspicious. And most of the religious stalas where the rites for the ancestors are done are when the river takes a north turn. So that was the point they chose. At that point, the Coombe was called the Vriddha Shila Nadi or the old Pala river. But the earlier maps of Madras indicate Coombe as the Kundamali river or the Chindadripet river or the Triplicate river because of the British, they had to mention the village from which it came. So perhaps Komaleshwaram river got evolved into the Coombe. I don't believe that the British went 76 kilometers into Chengalpet district and identified Tirunkollam and talked about the Coombe river. So it must have been the Komaleshwaram river, Komaleshwaram place which gave a name to the Coombe river. There is still a street called the CPM street. It doesn't indicate the party or the Communist Party. It's called about the Kanchi Pachema Mudaliyar street. That's where Pachema Mudaliyar built a huge house, almost looking like a temple. And he had a lot of Oduars coming and singing the Tiruvasakam and the Devara. And there were charities throughout the year when the birthdays of the 63 saints were celebrated with free Annadhanam in the afternoon. But he stayed there only for 2 years because the East India Company asked him to move south. And the most scandalous topics were the mistresses of the Dubashes. We even have the names of them. The Dubash wives we don't have the names of, but the mistresses we have the names. They had to show off their power, the virility, and the wealth. Their mistresses accompanied them everywhere. And they were very talented in arts, music, and dance. And talented courtesans they were, who became the mistresses. And they flaunted them rather than hiding them in the harem. Kalindaraya's mistress is called Narayani, was an expert in erotic games. Sriranga's woman Manga was very knowledgeable in music and a store of erotic art. Devanayaka's mistress was like a divine goddess. There's a thing called, a habit called Jalakrida, where the king, most of these people imagine they're Krishna and the women of the Gopikas, okay? So they have a public bath in a pond for the people to see. And Dubash, the Jalakrida, would frolic with his mistresses in a public pond for the unmarried public to view. All these had been purposes. One was their personal happiness, the other was to reinforce their powers in public. Stroke claims. Most of these Dubashes could not be paid in cash, so they became revenue farmers. The East India Company used to allot them spaces where they could collect the revenue in lieu of their salaries. So this almost elevated them to the position of a zemindar. And some of them got them as pensions when they left the service. And invariably they tried to get these areas out of their native villages. So though they came from the caste which was not ruling the village, they became all powerful there. I would liken it to a boy coming back from the United States and distributing gumballs and FC chocolates to his relatives. So he was rebuilding his temple, he was excavating the pond again and becoming a big man in the place that he had gone from. An important element of Dubashi history. Pachema Mudaliyar had a biographer when he was alive. None of the other Dubashas had biographers. And they have to look at the poetry on their favor to learn about their history. And most of this was psychophancy. Sounded very nice in their ears, so they rewarded the poets. Some of these poets are not ordinary rhymesters. They were very seasoned poets who wrote about temples and gods. But even a poet needs breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So he has to sing about somebody who can pay. These are called Tanipadas, lone songs on the Dubashis. Flattery to the court. A distinct feature of all these poetry is very few places the poets mention these guys were, the Dubashis were subversive to the British. The British you don't find a place for the British in the poetry. As if they were kings who had conquered their own territory. Dubashis were kings who conquered their own territory. Dubashis did not want the Englishmen to be mentioned, they wanted an independent identity. Because of this, the poetry really misses their genuine achievements in commerce or literature or management tactics. So Anandaragam Pillai is mentioned in the poem as learned as the 1,000-headed Adisesha. Is compared to the Adisesha on which Vishnu lies down. Okay? And one point says that Anandaraman Pillai conquered Bengal, Orissa, Andhra, and his domination extends up to Delhi. This man is just a translator. And this is what the poet says. And the poem goes on, when even birds like parrots are repeating his name, who on the earth will not know him? His shoulders are like massive boulders. These are all lines from his poetry. He has been the target because he seems to be a very good paymaster to the poets. Ananda Rangan Kovai, it took 16 years to complete. There are 400 stanzas, full of imagination. I think you need 16 years to imagine all his achievements. So 16 years of imaginary achievements and flattering metaphors. And it was set to music, and dancing girls performed it in Pondicherry. This entire dance. So the poet Tyagaraja Desika gets diamond earrings, a necklace, a pennant, shawls, land in Tiruvarur, and a lot of money as prize. So many of these poems extol the sexual powers of the Dubashes, often portraying them as the Talaivan of the song. Like the Tamil, we have a Talaivan in the Tamil songs, who's the hero. Often portraying as the girls of the village longing for him. One poet, a very crafty guy called Madhura Kaviraya, writes a very erotic poem about Dubash, just changes the name and sells the same poem to several Dubashes. So we find the same poem in the diaries of several Dubashes. We also have a lot of metaphors for the relationship between the poet and the pattern. The lotus and the sun, the peacock and the rain cloud, a child and a mother. That is how the poet compares himself to the pattern. Not all the poets got money, and not all the people pay up. And the poets often realize they were degrading themselves. So we have a guy called Ramachandra Kavi who talks of, I praised a fool, saying that he was learned. A coward, I praised to be a tiger. A puny man, I said had shoulders like a wrestler. A miser, I praised as a pattern. And as a just reward, he sent me away with empty hands. So that he mentions the poem of how he comes away with empty hands. There were Dubashes who rewarded the sycophants. There were Dubashes who rewarded the real poets, and there were Dubashes who did both as well. But the bulk of the poets tried to tap into the vanity of the new nobility. Poetry was nice to hear, pleasing on the ears, soothed one's ego, and perhaps they thought they were like the kings. They started believing in that. So Ramanuja Kaviraya will be best remembered for his poems. He wrote on Tirupati, he wrote on Triplicate, he wrote on Kanjipuram, mostly Perumal songs. If only had devoted more time to his God, perhaps you would remember him much more. But he spent a lot of time praising the Dubashes. He wrote a Pancharatna Mala of the Pacheva Mudaliya. We don't have the full poem, we have some stanzas of it. So this, though we cannot, we can call it psychophancy, we can't totally write them off. Because it is a wonderful treatise on the social history of Madras during that time. The narrative is important to present the historian as it reconstructs the social conditions existing there. The Anandaranga Vijaya Kampu praises Pillai saying he was a linguist and he had studied Christianity and he could debate with the Christian missionaries. So we know that it was an issue even at that point of time. He could debate with Christian missionaries, that was given as an attribute. The Sarvadesa Vilasa, a very popular poem, is written in the form of a dialogue. Two celestial figures, Viveki and Ati-Viveki. One is a cynic, one is a very positive person. So one says something positive, one says something negative. So between them they cover the entire history of the place. It talks about important Dubashes of Madras, whom they compare to the king Bhojaraja. And they talk about the topography of the town of Chennapuri, they talk about the wall, they talk about the tax which was not paid for the wall, and how the wall was incomplete. This talks about a lot about the land history. Pondicherry is mentioned as Navapura, Puducherry, we call Puducherry, Navapura. Madras is mentioned as Chennapatna and Chennakesavapura. Lungapuri is Lungampakam, Adipuri is Tiruvattiyu. Pravara Nagari is called Merchant Street. To that detail, even roads in Blacktown are mentioned in Sanskrit names. They are also cynical about English and their behavior. They call them Svetamukis. Which is exactly the same what the Redditors use for the Americans. Pale face, the white faced ones. Because they could write very courageously about the British because they were sure that the British would not understand these poems and would have to go to the Dubash again to interpret. Dubash gained immense social respect by dealing with kings and commoners. Like the kings of Europe, they built and managed temples. So we have lots of Dubashis building temples in the plateau. Most of the temples in the plateau today are built by the we have Alangar Pillai, Dubash and the East India Company. There's a legend that he used to visit Kanchipuram daily. Those days logistics I think is impossible. So he used to go to Kanchipuram daily and come back late for office, or the Britishers said, you built a temple of Egambareshwar here itself. So that's how that's the legend behind the story. So he starts the Alingar's pagoda or the Egambareshwar temple in the mid street. And his statue, his bas relief is one of the pillars of the statue. But soon all the Dubashis start a correction spree. They start collecting money from the locals to start building the temples. So the East India Company is really worried about local anger. The Board of Council of the Fort St. George in 1753 says the ignorant poor are obliged to contribute a part of the fruits of their labor towards the support of these temples. So a resolution is passed saying that no new temple can be built in the plateau without the permission of the East India Company. And the Dubashis don't worry about this, can't regard for this order. Temples keep popping up in the old town. So this order actually was announced in all streets of the plateau, the town, and prohibiting the erection of pagodas within the company limits. But a lot of dilapidated temples were what INTACH is doing today. I think it started with the Dubashis. A temple would never allow a temple to go dilapidated if there was a sponsor around or a pattern around. But with no patterns for 200 years, most of the temples are falling to pieces. So Pachenpa reconstructed the dilapidated east gopuram of the Chidambaram temple along with the system. I am just taking an example of Mylapore because that is very much within Madras. The Mylapore temple by then, 1794, Santom is annexed to the East India Company, so Mylapore comes within them. And Komarappa Mudali, who is the Dubash of the governor, Saunders, he becomes the Dharmakarta of the Mylapore temple. When he comes there, the temple is falling to pieces. There is no puja because there is no money. The Mada streets where the temple chariot has become shrunk because of occupation. And Komarappa Mudali spent his own money to buy up those who occupied these lands and moved them out and made reconstruction of the temple. He did, of course, do the big gopuram which was done only in 1900. And he rebuilt the temple walls and he dug up the tank. This, I think, is a dispute because the tank, we are told, is a gift from the Arcot Nawab, much later. But there are mentions that it must have been a smaller tank, perhaps a few square feet, few hundred square feet, not such a big tank. So he had the Utsavas, professional icons made. He fashioned carriages and mounts the theirs. He commissioned temple jewelry. He recruited temple servants and dancing girls. So the dancing girls stream that he starts and stops with Mylapore Gauri, Gauri Amma last. After Kumarappa, his brother Natu Subraya, all these people have roads named after them in Mylapore, and become the. So the temple comes into the hands of the Mudaliyas and is in the control of them till 1900s when Pappal Samudra Mudaliya, the playwright, is the last trustee, and he quits when he becomes a judge. The Dubash is also aimed to be the Dharmakartas of the most important temples all over the presidency. This has got an immense social respect. So even today, we have the Manali family having the first right in the, let us say, the last puja in both Chidambaram and Srirangam. We have charity, Chengalraya Nayakar, who is a Dubash of Messrs. Shand and Co. He amassed a great fortune, and in the 1857, let us say the relief camp during the Great Famine, he held a relief camp at the Kanjipur. A later day in Dubash, Raja Ramaswamy, you have a hospital in his name in Rayapura, you have a chowdhury in his name opposite the central station. The RSR are lying in hospital, that means people could be admitted. So that is the hospital that he built. And this chowdhury that he builds opposite the central stations has one block for Mudaliyas, one block for Naidus. This gives you a representative feeling of how things were there. One block for Mudaliyas, one for Naidus, one for Pillais, one for Brahmins, one for Marwaris and Chettis, and one for Mohammedans. So people who had to catch the train would come and stay in this, but they would not stay with people of the same, of a different caste. So the 18th century was devastated by wars, destroyed the social order, and disrupted the royalty and the upper classes. The lesser kings had lost their principalities. Biggest loss was to patronage. So without a patronage, most of the arts were failing, and The Dubashes became patrons for music, dance, and poetry. So when we look at the musicians, the Sangeeta Mumurti, the three of them from Trivayar, two of them came to Madras on trips sponsored by the Dubashes. So we have a Dubash Sundaresh Mudaliyar, Sundaresh Mudaliyar, a benefactor of arts who supports Tyagaraja at his Madras house. Tyagaraja sings about 12 songs in Madras about Tiruvatiyur and Kovur. And Muthukrishna Mudaliyar brings the family. Actually, the father of Muthuswami Dikshita comes to Madras, sponsored by Muthukrishna Mudaliyar. And Muthukrishna Mudaliyar used to take the children to the Flagstaff Road where the band of the fort used to play every evening. And these boys were fascinated, including Muthuswami Dikshita and Balaswami Dikshita, were fascinated with the violin playing. And they expressed an interest that they should also own a violin. The Dubash imports a violin from Austria. And perhaps that is the first violin, though it is contested that the Tanjore Quartet also used a violin earlier. So this was again the first violin used in a Carnatic concert. It is very strong accompaniment even today. Ramaswamy Dikshita perhaps did the Hamsadwadi Raga sitting in Madras on a door given by the Dubash. So Arunachala Kaviraya, who writes his own version of Ramayana in Tamil verse, he goes to Pondicherry to see Anandra Pillai, who says you should go and meet Muthuswami, the Mandali, the Dubashes, they would support you. So Kaviraya, who could not present it before the Maharaja of Tanjore because the circumstances were not favorable in Tanjore, he comes to Madras, Muthukrishna Mudaliyar seats him in a chair which is gold gilded and showers him with gold coins when he sings the song of Rama. Chengalvara Nayakar is, when the printing press starts, a lot of Dubashes start printing presses. One of the first printing presses we started was by Chengalvara Nayakar for editing and publishing the sacred books of the Vaishnavas. So when you're talking about the legacy, what they left behind, this is just what I've just touched a little, the surface of what the Dubashes did and how they lived. So when we're looking at the legacy, what did they leave behind to us? The simple aspect of a Pongal holidays. You get 4 holidays for Pongal. There was no Pongal holidays in the company period, and it was Thiruverkadu. The spelling is T-E-R, Thiruverkadu, C-A-D-O-U, Muthaiya, who talks to the governor of Madras and gets holidays for the Pongal. He thanks the governor and a big letter saying that your predecessors never thought of this, but you have done it for us. Many of the second generation Dubashes became merchants in their own right and amassed a lot of wealth. Descendants of the Zamindaris which were formed by the Dubashes, they substituted for another century. They could still collect taxes. Temple rights still last. The Manali family still has the first right in both Srirangam and Chidambaram. In fact, there are 5 steps to the Nataraja from the Kursabri, and it's called the Navasivaya steps. It is made of silver, and whenever that gets worn out, only the Manali family can, I think they are our neighbors, they have the right to replace it. And the Ardha Jama Puja in both Chidambaram, in Tamil, if they say it's a Kovil, it means either Chidambaram for a Saivite and Srirangam for a Vaishnavite. The last puja, when all the gods are supposed to come and settle into the temple, the rights go to Manali family still. And Srirangam, for the Ardha Jama, the Naivedyam is still wheat roti and butter. It's very different. They wear, the Perumal wears a lungi sort of cloth for the night. And that is being supplied by the Manali family even today. Pachepa did not have any descendants, so the only litigation that he left behind. And even today, a lot of roads, Pursavakam, Kilpauk, and Georgetown are named after the Dubashes. Temples would have crumbled but for the Dubashes. They didn't come at that point of time in history. Most of the temples would be in ruins today. Dubai has also organized meets of poets and songsters. So this must have been the earlier Sabas, first Sabas to start with. It was sort of a talent hunt. If Madras is a cultural hub today, I think it started with the Dubashes. They brought talented people in the arts to come back to the cities. Carnatic music, in a crucial phase, survived because of the Dubashes. The Carnatic, the fathers of Carnatic music would not have survived because there were no kings to support them at that point of time. It would have been lost in the generation or so. A simple aspect like cricket. Buchi Babu was a Dubash in the Parry and Co. They have English governors at home. They are Dubashes for 2-3 generations, so they have English governors. The equivalent of our Ayas. They had English governors at home who all used to meet in MCC once a week. So Buchi Babu as a kid used to be taken to Chapa. He used to watch the Britishers play cricket. Indians did not play league cricket at that point of time. So Buchi Babu started the league cricket, and that is how Indians getting into cricket and winning a World Cup started. Started specifically to curb the powers of the Dubash. They wanted to educate the English officials in the local languages, so that the Dubash power would become zero. But when you put a Telugu scholar, a Tamil scholar, and a Sanskrit scholar in the same room, you start observing a lot of things. So this is when Ellis, who was the director of Madras, who started the college, he observes that there is a separate school of languages which you can name the Dravidian group of languages. So the Dravidian group of languages, which was later enforced by Calvin, was invented in this college which was started to curb the powers of Dubash. So the legacy of the Dubash could also start in moves to curb their powers. Most of the early Dubashes were Brahmins, Marathas and Telugu speaking. I don't think there was an anger against Brahmins earlier. The anger against Brahmins started during the Dubash period perhaps and becomes the Justice Party 100 years later. So political analysts would be able to see the exact path in which this Brahmin hatred comes and the Justice Party starts. I'm sure it started with the Dubashes. And when you look at the entrepreneurship, the skills of the Dubashes, most of the Dubashes started business and they became a distinct and a parallel class of merchandising. And the mercantile spirit started in the south, started with the Dubashes, the joint stock company, and the earliest banks, the Madras Bank and the Carnatic Bank, had Dubashes as directors. Finally, India is the largest English-speaking country in the world, and the first Indians to speak English were the Dubashes. When America was not even discovered, when English was isolated to the islands of United Kingdom, the Dubashes were speaking English. So India today, I always believe in this outlier principle, something that our ancestors have left behind. See, let us say there are 75 grandmasters of chess in India. 36 come from Madras. So something that we have done right. We don't teach chess in school, but something that environment that we have created is doing something good. So similarly, English-speaking people in Madras for 375 years is something phenomenal. Why education or your social standards are very high. When you look at the indexes in India, they are very, very high. But I've all started with it. I think the Dubash has opened the world of learning to most of us. And they taught us that education could be the ladder out of your previous poverty or caste system enforced politics. In that aspect, I think Dubashes have done a lot of, replicate a lot of remnants that people involuntarily or unknowingly follow. They paved a way for most of us. A Dubash in European history would be a corrupt person, but the Dubashes have also left behind lots of systems, they have left behind lots of charities, and they have left behind lots of rules that we follow today, though we don't know that they started at that point. Thank you.
Questions? Are there any questions?
So Venkatesh, when do they have the last Dubash?
The public Dubash stops in 1790s, part of the East India Company. Private Dubashes continued up to 1910. So Pari had a Dubash in 1910.
So is that when the Tamil Brahmins start becoming more important?
The Tamil Brahmins become Dubashes, very active with Dubashes only when they start the conquest of the south. They were not in the initial periods, but when the conquest of the south starts, they have to communicate with people. So the Tamil, both Mudaliyas as well as Tamil Brahmins start to become Dubashes.
And the Sarvodaya Vilasam is available now.
Yes, it is available. I think the English version is now available. I think Kanachitra is put it. That started only after the college. They were taught Tamil. We have an Englishman translating Tirukkural, but starts much later. They were concentrating on a business. The colleges started, I think, in 1800s. Only after that, the Englishmen make a serious attempt to learn Tamil. When they are taught in an organized system. The college is a fascinating history by itself. The Tiruvallur is translated there. A gold coin is made for Tiruvallur. The first image of Tiruvallur with the Jada Mudi is made only in the college. I think the Tamil politics, the audience starts in the college.
Yes. Brahmin was prominent names you can mention.
Papaya? Papaya. So, a lot of them. That's became Papaya. So a lot of these names are corrupted in the English terminology, and unfortunately they are dependent on those texts for information about the Dubash.
Also, he was Tamil Brahmin, no?
Yes, Telugu Brahmin. A lot of Telugu and Marathi Brahmins were initially there. The Tamil Brahmin and the Mudalias come later.
Has the death been quantified? That is, this Dubai on this one.
Yeah, then we have texts of how much they left behind. Pacham Mudala left back 5 lakh pagodas. And a lot of Dubashis left 3 lakh and 2 lakh pagodas. Pagoda is 3.5 rupees at those days, right? Today it must be 1 sovereign each. So we're talking about 5 lakh sovereigns. And even today, Pacham Mudala Trust, at some point of time, Pacham Mudala Trust was the richest trust in India. So now other trusts have overtaken it.
Anyone else?
This research does it, I asked you that question earlier. Who teaches who English?
And there must have been that the typical butler English. I imagine it to be the butler English who started with basic words, and these guys are very, very sharp. Not that the system was started by them. We have Dubash learning Portuguese, we have Dubash learning Dutch earlier. So you can't, but this is only for the first generation. The second generation are always sons and nephews or people from the villages whom the earlier Dubashis tutor. So the first Dubashis must have been a real uphill struggle. And the British must have taught them some English words, and it must have been really that butler English that we talk about. Butler English must have been the Dubash English earlier.
But even access to that, how would they have had before the English?
I think his hands must have been used for so big, so numbers and all that stuff, and then he started learning it. It must be very, very tough. There was no organized teaching for them, and we don't have really good records about how they learned. But they learned pretty fast.
No, I think there was also the influence of missionaries for the English.
1630s, 1640s, missionaries were not into teaching. That all happens in 1700s later.
No, they existed.
Around for a long
They were
time.
around.
This is about.
That makes sense.
There were communities which had concentrated on learning earlier. The Mudalias, of course, Bellaras, the Mudalias used to be taught the Shaivite shops and temples. So they were all literate. So that's good. I don't think an illiterate man would have learned the translation so fast. So they had the degree of learning in their own mother tongues and they picked it up. And they are not Sanskritic languages or Aryan languages or either, no. At least you would have some, at least the sounds would be same to European language and Sanskrit. These were totally the Dravidian languages. But it must have been a real uphill struggle.
It's easy to learn English.
Sujata and I are making desperately horrible attempts at learning Sanskritam. Right? We appreciated this lecture far more because of that. Both of us, I'm sure, were sort of mentally saying, my God, how the hell did they manage? If there are no more questions. Okay. Thank you very much.
Regular lecture that is about scandals and other things. But I wanted to make a point.
There was enough humor. The scandals can be crept in, but we'll excuse you for that. But what I was going to say is before the lecture began, before the evening began, Venkatesh was talking about artificial intelligence and how words could be turned into pictures. I think he did that for us right here now. As he spoke about all that has happened since the English came, I think the pictures were forming in all our minds. We could imagine Fort St. George and all that must have gone on there. Maybe right, maybe wrong, but we all have our personal views on, we must have imagined something. And for that imagination, I thank you very much. Venkatesh Ramakrishnan is always a man in a hurry. So if you missed every 10th word, I'm part of it.
Your brain was.
Yeah, far more clear than it normally is. I completely agree with you, Vincent.
I had too many notes then.
But otherwise,
It's been a very learning experience for me also preparing for this talk. And I always make very thick notes so that it can be converted to a book when I get the patience or the time for it.
But this will be
otherwise,
uploaded.
when Venkatesh, you hear the first word, the 7th word, and you fill in the blanks for yourself. And you've heard the whole lecture. But thank you very much for reading that pattern also. It's been a very pleasant evening. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to Ashmita for giving us this beautiful place which kind of goes so well with the kind of lectures we have. And we were INTACH. I hope to see you all whenever the next program is. And from INTACH, a very small